Welcome to another episode of My Stylish Life. This is the interior design podcast that helps you live your most stylish life. My name is Linda Mzamane, and I'm here as usual with my fab co-host Bridget Maya.
Hello, how are you? Hi, guys.
I'm good. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah, today's conversation is really about the big monster of home building and
Yes.
mistakes that we often make along the way when we are building our homes, even before the first brick is laid. So I really want us to chat about like the why and how it happens that before a building project gets off the ground, it's very easy to make certain mistakes along the way that end up costing you more, whether in money or time.
Yes,
So
sure.
let's really start there. I think what do you think makes a home build doomed before it even starts?
I know that sounds quite dramatic.
I know, right? Doomed. It's doomed. Dun, dun, dun.
It does sound quite dramatic. But I think most of the problems that people might encounter within a building situation is not planning beforehand. Like the biggest piece of advice that I could give to absolutely anybody who's undertaking a building project, whether it's your dream home or it is your office revamp or whatever the case may be, it's all down to the planning. I think when things start to go wrong is when it hasn't had the right amount of time for planning beforehand or like intent. Because
What do we
that's
mean
when
by
we
planning? Sorry to cut you, because I
Yeah.
have a plan. I have a building plan.
Sure,
And I've talked
yes,
about it with my
yes,
builder, so I've got a
yes.
plan. Is that
That's-
enough?
That's true. No, it's not actually enough, sorry to say. So this is where it's really handy to hire a professional team like an interior designer. But even if you don't have an interior designer, I think that the main thing is to put the effort into, number one, thinking about how are you actually going to live. Because even though you might have a plan, let's just say you went to an architect and a draftsman and they have drawn your plan, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that in itself. It's responding to the environment, to your site, to your slope, or the building regulations. There's a lot that they would have put into that plan. But I think as a homeowner, the kind of big benefit that comes into play here is how are you going to live in your home? Okay. Does the plan that has been created for you, does it tick off not just aesthetically about how it's going to look, but is it functionally going to work for your family, your business, your lifestyle? Because that truly is what you're after. Yeah.
And I think a
get
lot
that
of people
balance.
probably focus a lot on how it looks, but how we're actually going to live in this
Yeah,
space
I think
is like
unfortunately,
secondary.
we think about Pinterest, Instagram. Great. The amount of just sheer inspiration out there, the block, fabulous. Everyone's getting loads of ideas. It's so accessible. We are on our phones all the time. Now even AI, I think that's the thing. I have had clients now come to me where they themselves have generated an AI image,
Thanks,
and they're like, we want
ChatGPT.
it to look just like this. Sure, that is, things have really advanced. A lot of the stuff we see on Pinterest now is actually all AI generated. You can now do a search where you can actually turn off that filter so it will only show you real interiors.
Oh, that's a good tip.
But I think what I'm trying to highlight here is the stuff that we're looking at for inspiration. It's great for inspiration, but you cannot base your whole kind of interior solely on that image, because a lot of the time, number one, it's not real. Number two, it's probably comes from a different country, so it's not taking into consideration all of our climatic needs that we have in South Africa. And number three, it doesn't take things like scale, proportion into consideration. You're looking at an image of a certain space. Your space could be a third of the size, or double the size. So great to, get the ideas going, but not to solely base a whole build on. There's a lot more thought that has to go. How do we interpret that? How does that suit the space? How does that suit you, your family, your working environment, whatever the case may be for that project? Yeah. Very important to unpack that.
Very important to unpack that. And we'll get more into detail about that as well. But I wonder, in your experience with the clients that you've had over the years, have you ever walked into a space and thought, this is going to be a nightmare to live in? Mm-hmm. And what sort of things have made you think that?
I must be honest, I actually have not. I actually have not.
Okay,
I mean, I don't actually walk into spaces very judgmentally.
But I think suppose you're there to make them better. So even if they're not. Thing.
So I think maybe I'm going in with a look that's like more looking for the potential as opposed to the problems.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I know often, I think it's one of those things about being an interior designer. People are like, I have to do this before I invite you to my house. And I'm like, gosh, guys, like, I'm not coming into your house to come and like tear it apart. Like, I'm coming to have a glass of wine with you. I'm coming to hang out. I really am not looking at, what your curtains look like or, what your kitchen's looking like.
Okay, but I must confess, as your friend, I have to confess, when Bridget comes over, I do sort things out a little bit before she comes, because I'm like, oh, she's going to have an opinion. Not that she does.
Although that one time I did go to Linda's house and I did tell her that we must move her dining room table. I did. And she was like, right now. I was like, yes, right now.
We literally in that moment rearranged the direction of my table.
We actually
did.
It
actually looks much better for it.
It does. But that's possibly the only time that I've really felt strongly opinionated.
That something doesn't work. No, it's much better the way it is. So thank you.
And then we drank some wine after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's a classic looks good but doesn't work situation?
I think I'd start with the kitchen. I think that's obviously because that's possibly one of the most functional areas of a home. Your kitchen can look amazing, but where are you storing the things?
Is there enough storage?
Storage? Well, I think this is honestly that I would say is one of the biggest problems in not planning before you build, is that you can put in this beautiful storage cabinetry. I mean, do you know how many house plans I see that don't have linen cupboards on them? I wish I could. I mean, where are you going to store your towels? Where are you going to store your sheets, guys? I mean, that is essential.
Yeah.
Or if there is a linen cupboard, it's like this tiny little, nook at the end of the passage. But, it could be a 6-bedroomed house. Those are very big functional problems that need to be sorted out before you decide to start building. It's not going to suit your living circumstance. So going back to the kitchen, I mean, your kitchen can look like phenomenal, but you could have a hell of a lot of Tupperware, and maybe you do homework at the kitchen counter. Maybe you need to store, I don't know, sports bags in your scullery. Those are all very important things to plan. The aesthetics will come around it. We can make it look amazing, but it has to tick all those boxes. If we're doing homework at the counter, is there plugs? Is there a charging station? Again, we don't really, I don't know, I don't want to get a lot of flack for this, but I feel like the golden triangle that everyone was very hell-bent on creating in kitchens a long time ago. That's the distance of your cooking, like your hob, your fridge, etc. Called it the golden triangle.
Oh,
I don't know if that is like such a hell-bent thing that we focus on now, but we certainly do focus on functionality in your kitchen. Like for me in planning, it's right down to, okay, you're making coffee. Okay, here's your cutlery. Here are the mugs. Okay, where's the water point so we can fill up the kettle?
Yeah.
How far do we have to walk to get the milk? When you're chopping, like prepping veggies, where your knives going to be. It's all of those things. Has to be functional. So therefore, that has to be very well thought out. Again, also, appliances. Sure. When we start looking at kitchen design, we need to know, are you having a double door fridge? Are you having 3 freezers? Are you a big cook? Do you need to have a large oven? Those are like the building blocks of kitchen design. And I think often, most of the clients, I have to remind them that we need to know those things
Yeah.
before we start the process of planning your kitchen, because it's all well and good, again, if we design something beautiful, but actually, you decided you needed a steam oven plus 2 normal, you know what I mean? It has to work. Yeah.
It has to work.
It
And I
has to
think
work.
that
Yeah.
a lot of the time when you're thinking about a build like that, you don't get down to the granular detail you're describing now in order to
Yes.
actually, at
Yes.
the end of it, have the
Yes.
space allocated for all of
And
these things.
I think the problem where I think a homeowner who potentially hasn't put a lot of the pre-planning thought in, and it's kind of like, okay, well, let's get building. Oh, yay, okay, it's so
I wanna
exciting.
rush into it.
Yes, we're starting to build now. And what happens is the design fatigue is immense in the midst, because your builder's going to be like, okay, well, we can all see there's a kitchen on the plan, but what are your cabinets going to look like? And they'll go and perhaps go to a kitchen person. They wouldn't have put that thought in at the beginning. And then there are a lot of knock-on effects, a lot.
Yeah,
And
that
then
can
it becomes very costly. Because if you have to make changes, that is very costly. And one change can affect a lot of other trades. So something as in, okay, well, let's move a plug. You have to consider, or let's change a cupboard. You might need to move a plug. You might need to move a water point. You have to think about what it's doing to the
All the
ceiling.
knock-on effects,
Maybe
yeah.
there's integrated lighting that might be affected as well. It's not so simple, and to do that mid-build, it becomes quite hectic. And also it makes people tired, because again, this is what, as an interior designer, we feel that.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
And you're shielding the client
our
from as
phone
much of that
rings
as possible.
constantly. But I mean, we are accustomed to dealing with that.
Yeah.
But for you, who's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, the builder's handling it. There are things he will handle, but he needs a lot of information.
And guidance. It's exactly. You touched a bit on budget. I want to talk about that because obviously, I don't know if there's any build in the history of building that has ever stuck to budget and maybe time.
Well, I mean, let's not knock all the contractors. I think it's also a lot client-led.
Yeah.
I think it's also a lot of the information out there. Building is expensive. I'd love to say it's not, but it is. And that's why very important that you plan beforehand so that you are spending your money wisely and that, you have a bill of quantities perhaps, or if not that, then some form of a guideline in terms of where you're going to spend your money. Because things can get out of control very easily if you don't, and you don't plan for where you...
Sorry to break your word there. Do you find that people spend their money in the right places? Where do you think people blow their money on things that you feel don't matter as much? And where should they be putting their emphasis?
I hear you. I think it's all relative. Look, it's not my place to say, I don't think you should be spending X amount of money on that television, where for you, the
That's
98
important.
TV is important to you. Same sound. I mean, a lot of people I have discovered whilst doing, high-end residential design, people are really invested in their sound and are willing to spend a lot of money on the most amazing AV equipment. Again, if that is your thing, just as your thing might be, a high-end luxury car, then that is your thing. You see value as the homeowner in spending that amount of money on that specific thing. But just as someone might see value in spending a lot of money on a beautiful piece of art, I think that is down to each and every person. There are definitely things, though, that I think people should be mindful of in terms of making sure they have the right amount of money to allocate towards certain things.
I know lighting is a big passion of yours.
Yes.
And so...
Yes,
would you
always
say,
have money for the lights.
Always have money
always
for the
have
lights.
money for the
Okay,
lights.
let's talk a bit about that. People don't spend too much thought or spend too much time thinking about lighting. Why do you think that's wrong? What are they missing? What are they missing out on?
I think the thing is, if we think about it, lighting, great lighting, you'll know if you're in a space with bad lighting. You'll inherently feel it. Yeah, you'll inherently feel it. And good lighting is all about layered lighting. So that means it's not one little point in the middle of your room. It is multiple lighting sources. So whether it's, multiple ceiling lights, but then you would also have like a wall light or a table light or a floor light. You just light the mood. It is... we always talk about it. Can't stress enough. Layer your lighting.
If that's anything you take away from my stylish life is layer your lighting.
Can't stress it enough. Yeah. And it makes a huge difference to how you experience a space. So that, again, planning is crucial at the beginning of a project to make sure that all the points are in the right position, especially if you're doing stuff like integrated lighting. So I'm talking about where you get the strips that below the TV and or around the TV, under the counters. Yeah, so that we integrate LED lighting within the joinery, and that you have to plan for. You can't do that as an afterthought after the project, or we need to chase in points. Everyone needs to know what's happening. Lighting, very important. Always save money for your lighting. And then I would say the other big one is to make sure that you have money for custom joinery.
Custom joinery.
Bespoke joinery.
Okay.
So in other words, where you have proper designed cabinetry in your home. So that
is
would
made
be...
to fit.
That's made to fit, exactly. So you would work with a cabinet maker. That is an investment that really changes up your space. And also not just aesthetically, but also functionally, because that means there's been thought put into those cupboards. You're not just kind of buying a flat pack. We don't really have a IKEA here, so that's fine. Yeah. But there's intent and thought into the planning. So, you do have linen space, and you might be an avid reader and need bookshelves, and maybe you work from home, you actually have a built-in desk. These are all things that bespoke joinery will tick the boxes of. And also then you get to do cool things like add lighting to it, and clever storage is so multifaceted because it can be functional but also aesthetic. I'm trying to look around. We're in Choreocraft today, guys.
Yes, we are.
Shout out to Choreocraft for having us.
Absolutely.
But open shelves, what I want to say. Again, beautiful space to curate home items. That's all part of bespoke cabinetry, custom cabinetry.
Okay.
So save your money for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Good. The one thing I wanted to ask you is, I know for myself, I can be quite undecided. How do you, as an interior designer, help people sort of decide on a direction or on a theme or for the spaces? Because there's so much beautiful stuff out there. Yeah. You just want it all, and then you want to mix and match. How do you help people who are undecided?
Again, it's like I totally get it. It's like an information overload.
Yeah.
So, that is where I really think the benefit of working with a professional helps, because we can take your myriad of ideas and help you find the common thread of what it is that, and then balance what we will edit all your photographs, and there will be something there that makes sense. Like, for instance, I once had a client showed me photos of like this luxury New York style penthouse apartment, and they were like, we want this exact bathroom. Now, it was like covered in marble. It had all this glass, beautiful New York, skyscrapers in the background. We live in South Africa, guys. And also, this client did not have the budget that would have...
wall marble.
Yes, it was just not going to work. So I said to the client, well, tell me, what about that image do you like? And he was like, oh, well, I love the lights. I love the storage. I love the way it feels. Now suddenly, I was like, okay, we have stuff to work on. We're not copy and pasting a New York style penthouse. We are designing a South African bathroom with a budget, we were able to convey the things that he wanted to achieve with like a tile, the porcelain tile that looked like marble but wasn't marble. We had great bespoke cabinetry, lots of storage. We included lots of natural light, and it was a great success because it was all about interpreting. And I think that's what's quite tough, is that perhaps if you're getting blasted with a lot of images, it's quite hard to interpret what it is, you know, and
why
extract
people fall
that.
into the trap of wanting to execute an inspirational image, you know, like for like. But I think what I'm taking away from what you're saying is your ability to distill for a client and find that golden thread between all the various things that they throw you with. You're able to find something. And actually then you could mix themes.
You can.
You know, I've seen you do that in your work where you mix themes, but there is a golden thread that you can kind of go, okay, cool.
I mean, for us,
there's
we
cohesion.
we don't work with themes necessarily, but there is, you know, like we'll layer a whole lot of different things.
But you'll be able to extract from the client and interpret in their space things that they've said, you know, and then you can kind of go, oh, that speaks to that idea that they had. That speaks to that thing that they liked.
Correct.
So that's what I think is, you know.
And I think it goes back to that planning. Like if we go back, even if now you're not working a professional person, if you just take a pause and actually look at all your stuff, edit out your Pinterest board or the screenshots you've taken on Instagram, and look at the common stuff. Okay, realistically, how does that work with how I live? You know, you might live in 100 square foot apartments in the Cape Town CBD. All these wonderful images you have of these open plan, vast interiors is not going to be working for your practical, functional needs. But what it is about that you love.
Yes.
Was it the great couch in it? Was it the wall? Was it the lighting?
So you want to get to the crux of that.
Yes. And so all I can say is, again, just go back. Have a coffee, have a few coffees, look through and extract the bits that what it is about that image that resonates.
Nice. Now I want to talk about working with an interior designer and when in the process that happens. Most people are probably likely to think, I am going to bring the interior designer when I'm about to do my interiors. When do people usually call you in, and when should they call you in?
Yeah, I mean, look, the sooner you get an interior designer involved, the better for the whole project. Okay. So, I mean, the best would be to appoint us while you're appointing your whole professional team, which would be with the architect.
At the very beginning, before you lay the first brick. At the beginning,
yes.
Okay.
And, Linz, there have been lots of times when we have been appointed for projects and we've come in and all the brickwork is done, the tapware is all in position, we can't move
anything.
And people want to know, okay, well, what sanitary ware are you using? What is the bathroom looking like? And the plumber's waiting, the builder's waiting, everyone else, suddenly you're appointed and you have like months worth of pre-planning that you now have to execute in like 2 weeks because people need bathroom data sheets. It's hectic. It's hectic. So that really puts us under pressure. I mean, we've done it. We've had lots of successful projects where we've worked under immense pressure. But I would say what you don't get the benefit of is the potential to change. If now you have already built the structure, we obviously then get no say in the actual spaces. And that is where one of the greatest kind of pros of working with an interior designer is in the space planning. Because even though your architect might have said, okay, well, here's the lounge, here's the kitchen, whatever, because we are really going into how do you as a client live, what are your needs for your family or let's say your business, we space plan accordingly in a lot more detail. Okay. So we might say, you know what, that wall actually needs to move. You know, we love to collaborate with the architect on the job and come to a solution that would be the best for the plan and the clients, because they're ultimately going to live in it. And a lot of the time we might have a perspective that we might want to change it, because they'll tell us things in the questions we ask that they wouldn't have perhaps told the rest of the professional team. Because we're really trying to understand, how do you live? How do you work? And get to the bottom of that and then respond with that. So not great to come on late, best to come on as soon as possible, so that we can just really help with the space planning aspects.
Have you ever had to fix something that could have been avoided? That sounds like, I'm sure you've had to fix lots of things that could have been avoided. Just because they brought you in late, have you had to fix something? And what was the ramification or the implication of that for the client?
Well, the problem is it's always going to cost more money, isn't it? And it's always going to cause a delay. So,
time and money, guys.
Time and money, yes. That's ultimately what it always will boil down to.
If you could give a prospective client or lover of My Stylish Life one piece of advice when it comes to building, whether starting from scratch or a reno job, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this episode?
Just to spend a little bit more time in the planning before they would rush to get to site. I think obviously I get it. There's a lot of excitement. People might have had a plot, or they're paying rent for, in a corporate environment for a space. They want to see the work physically starting, because if you're starting the work, that must mean it's happening,
Makes it more real.
It makes it more real, So I get it. And people are like, okay, well, the sooner we start, it's the sooner we're going to finish. But it's not like that, unfortunately. Taking the time to plan beforehand, making sure that it's been well thought out. All of the drawings are as well thought out as possible with all the information. You've worked the maths, you've done the budgets, you've done all the planning. Then you start your construction phase.
There are various ways also in which to make use of interior design services. I want to touch a bit about some of your business extensions now, Bridge.
Yes, because we just offered a new design service.
That's what I want to talk about.
We call it Design Clarity. And basically it is an advice service that is short-term. So I think what we realized is that a lot of people need advice whilst they're either about to start a project or in the middle of a project, where they haven't potentially, hired a professional team. And the thing is, not everyone has that capability. And the thing is, when you're hiring a professional team, it's like it's a process. It's not a quick once-off thing. Like, you're working with someone over a good couple of months. I mean, gosh, we've even had a project where we worked on it for 4 years. So it's lengthy. Whereas I think what we figured out is that you might just, like, you're in the middle of a bathroom renovation now, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where I should actually put this basin. Actually, I want 2 basins now. How am I going to do this? And actually, I love this tile and I love this tile. My mother-in-law said I must have this tile, and my best friend wants that one, and my sister says this, and now you don't know what to do. So what do you do? Because now you're not going to hire an interior designer who's it's, you know what I mean, for something like that, because But with Design Clarity, you would be able to have a consultation with us anywhere in South Africa, because it's online.
Anywhere around the world.
Well, anywhere around the world. And you would be able to, it's exactly for that, like, be able to get information, proper design
and
advice.
assist you to make informed decisions.
Or you're like, okay, maybe you've seen a property that you want to buy. Does it have potential? You've seen all this wonderful open plan stuff. Can you actually bash down that wall and that wall? Before you decide to actually buy it and commit, who are you going to run this past? You might have people within your family or friends.
I wanted to say Ghostbusters.
Who are you going to call?
You're going to call Stylist.
You're going to call Stylist.
And Design Clarity. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
wonderful.
I think we really are offering a big gap in the market of how do you offer short-term advice that allows people to really guide them in making very smart decisions, decisions that are real-life problems that they need help with, without them having to have a commitment of a long, full-service interior design. It's short-term, and you've got the answers you need by professionals in that environment.
Love it.
Yeah.
And for that, you can go to www.stylist.co.za.
Yes. Yeah, you can reach out on our
for
website.
the design clarity service as well.
Yeah, it's better explained, on our website, so you'll be able to have a
wonderful.
look there. Yeah.
The last question I want to ask you is, what has been, and I mean, obviously without divulging clients and things like that, but what has been your favorite project that was a build that you started on from the beginning, and what makes it your favorite?
I would say the one that I'm personally most proud about was the first project I did after having my youngest daughter. Yeah. So I had taken some time off work, obviously, to have my babies. And the one day I got a call from an architect, and he said, look, can we send you over these plans? The clients are wanting to hire an interior designer. And the plans were incredible. The home was beautifully architecturally designed. And I was like, okay, I'm giving it a go. And it was me with a toddler and a 6-month-old baby. And to be honest, I don't even know how I did it when I think about it now, because I used to work at night after I had put them to bed. And then I'd design until like 11 o'clock, and then I'd be woken up, by one of them, and, very sleep deprived. But that project, to this day, love the interior. If you look on our Instagram, it's the one called Cliff House. And what was very cool is 5 years after the clients moved in, that house got published in a magazine. Amazing. And I think that for me was always just so
validating.
Yeah, validating, because also the interior, no one knew. Like the magazine editor said to me, no one will know that this interior was actually done 5 years ago, because it's so relevant.
That's amazing.
I was very proud of it for personally where I was in my life, which was very much in the throes
trenches
of
motherhood.
Trenches of motherhood and kind of figuring out how to design amongst that. Yeah. And that project was on site for a year and a bit, and the design itself was so cutting edge. Like the clients were like, we don't want anything light, we want it all to be dark, and I was like, this is so exciting. Let's give it a go. So
nice. Sure. Well, if you guys are watching this and you have any questions that you want to ask us, or any topics you want us to delve into, please don't be shy. Drop comments below, send us DMs on Instagram,
if you follow us
My
on
Stylish
Instagram,
Life podcast, everywhere.
We're on Spotify.
Yes, so
Spotify.
Please just send through your questions, send through your comments, and we will answer them either by design conundrum answers, or
maybe we'll do a
topics.
topic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. This has been My Stylish Life, and we'll see you
guys.
in the next episode.
And thanks again to Choreographed for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Choreographed.